Hi everyone, I'm Ali GREYMOND. Today I wanted to talk to you about why this thought. Why did this thought get stuck? Why did I get this? Why is it still coming in? This is something I touch on fairly frequently, but I had a full video on it a while ago and I haven't done one since then. And I find that some of the people who are new to this channel may not have this information. So I wanted to go over it in more depth, specifically doing a separate video on it. So why this thought? First, if you may or may not know, they've done studies on how many thoughts does a person get per day. An average person, OCD, not OCD, doesn't matter. The study showed about 50,000 thoughts. 50,000 thoughts. So, as you can imagine, they can get pretty weird just by sheer number of them, right? And that's again for everybody, a person with OCD, a person without OCD. So, as these thoughts are kind of streaming through your mind throughout the course of the day, one kind of came and instead of disregarding it, just like every other thought, just like, okay, it's just a constant stream, you said, oh, this is important. This means something about me. This makes me a bad person, maybe. Or what if this thought hurts me or hurts someone else, you know? Right? A person without OCD would get the exact same thought. And again, they've done studies on this as well, that people with OCD and people without OCD get the same exact thoughts. So a person without OCD or the person who's not in danger of developing OCD got the same exact thoughts, said, whatever, I don't care. Moved on, right? A person with OCD said, oh my God, what does this mean about me? And then started to think and analyze. Now, I equate this to, if you can imagine, your brain has 50,000 boxes, little tiny boxes in front of it. It doesn't know what's in each box because that part of the brain doesn't understand each individual thought. So it doesn't understand what's in the box cognitively, like what does this mean, what type of thought is it, on a kind of an emotional level. It just understands it as a signal. This type of signal, so signal 1, signal 2, signal 3, every box is numbered as a signal, okay? You dig in to this big giant pile of boxes and you say, oh, this one is important. You pick it out and you give it to your brain. You say, this is important. This is very scary to me. This is dangerous, right? When you react to OCD thought, this is exactly what you're doing, So the brain's like, okay, don't worry. I will protect you. I'm going to put a little marker on it, little flag on it that says this is important. I will bring it up all the time. I will also bring up the fear to make sure you're reacting, to get you into a reaction. Don't worry, I've got this. So now it starts to bring it up again because, again, that first time you reacted with fear. It brought it up again. Now, what do? You react with even more fear because now fear is coming in. So now fear came in and then you upped it by analyzing some more, right? So say the thought came in or a variation of that thought came in with level 6 anxiety and you started to analyze and got yourself all the way to a 10, right? So then the brain's like, okay, it's even more important. I'll put 2 flags on it, I'll keep bringing this up all day long. Right? And it starts to have this cycle of bringing up this thought over and over again, but doesn't stop there. It finds similar boxes that say, it's not like we said 1, 2, 3, right? But it'll find box that's 1.01, 1.02. So boxes that are similar. So the thought can be slightly different. So say, for example, if you have harm OCD, you'll feel like you want to harm this person, but then maybe that person, so it's like, or maybe you have religious OCD and you feel like you sinned in this way, but then maybe also in that way, right? So that's how the brain works because it starts to flag similar boxes because it sees how severely you're reacting to it, And now what happens when you stop reacting? So at first, the brain is kind of, for lack of a better word, is shocked by your behavior. It's like, why you're not reacting? This is scary. You literally just told me that this is scary. And now you're not reacting. Okay, I'm going to send you a million more thoughts just to get you back into reaction. And it really usually what I see is there's like a lull period. So at first, when the person starts to refuse reaction, the brain doesn't catch on for the first maybe day or so. But then the brain really springs into gear and really tries to bring up thoughts all the time. I mean, the person, this is what they call the pummeling effect. The brain will be bringing it up all day long, because it's trying to get you into a reaction. That machine is programmed for one thing only, is to keep you safe. And now it's kind of like you're crossing the street on the red light. You've crossed on the green light all the time, but now you're just going on the red. That's not good. And it needs to really warn you about all these kind of scenarios and details and all of this kind of stuff. And if it doesn't have details, it will make up details, or it will connect the unconnectable things, so no matter what it needs to do, it will do something to get you back into a reaction, and this is the period where you absolutely have to stay strong. There is no room for, well, of course there's room for error, and you can undo everything later, but this pummeling period is pretty bad. It's pretty taxing emotionally. And you want to get out of this period as soon as possible, because after a while, the brain will see that, okay, well, you're still crossing the street on the red light, but nothing bad is happening, and it will start to see that maybe it's not all that valid anymore. Maybe the situation has changed, because it's also programmed to shift with the times, so to speak, with the situations, right? So maybe it's not all that valid, and it starts to unflag it little by little, and what usually my clients see, that I hear this all the time, is they'll have a period where, like they'll have a break in the day where they had very little or no OCD. Maybe they got caught up on something like just real life stuff, or but they have very little OCD, and then it becomes, oh, for the whole day I've had almost no OCD, and then it becomes that one day a person has OCD, then one day they don't, and then they start to have more good days than bad, and then the good days eventually overtake the situation entirely, and they very rarely have a bad day, and then not at all. And then that's how OCD goes away. But this pummeling period is when the brain is really doing the shifting, so you really have to stay strong. This is when it's going to attack you the most. And it doesn't matter what kind of OCD you have, if you have puro, if you have compulsions, all these thoughts are coming in on autopilot. Why did this thought come in? Because back then, when you first got it, you reacted with fear. Then it came back, you reacted with fear again and again and again. In this way, you trained your brain over time that this thought is important. If, you reacted to a red balloon and retrained your brain the same way, it would have viewed red balloon as being serious and scary. This is how people get into situations with like fears of like clowns, or I don't know, certain like say reptiles, you know what I mean, like, or stuff like that, because every time they get into a situation where they're faced with it, they react with a lot of fear, and that fear over time grows, and it can grow to enormous proportion with that. And I can tell you that exposure and response prevention, even if you take to take it a step further, say for example, what's a very common situation? Say waking up in the morning, waking up early, right? The more you dread it, the worse it seems, and the more you dread it next time, right? This is a very kind of simple example, but it doesn't, it's important to note that the brain is not wired for OCD. So any thought that you give it is scary, and if you keep doing it, it eventually develops into OCD, because just like I gave you the example of this, every person gets this, right? Like, oh, I don't want to wake up, and then the person dreads it. If they dread it to the level of 3 out of 10, maybe even 4 out of 10, which I don't really see it going that far, but, they start to, as they go up, they start to get more and more obsessed with the situation, more and more fearful of it. But if they get to 10 out of 10, yeah, that's OCD, when that's all they can possibly think about, And really, any situation, if you give it enough fear, enough thought, can become an obsessive OCD situation, not necessarily involving physical compulsions, but the puro type of situation as well, with the thoughts. We're more talking about the puro, although another good kind of thing to note is that I've never really seen a true puro. any thought, any pure situation, pure obsessional OCD, it's still accompanied by compulsions. You know, researching on Google is a compulsion. Asking is a compulsion. Confessing something is a compulsion. Avoiding things not to get triggered or to prevent something bad from happening, you know, is a compulsion. So any OCD, really, if you really dig into it, it does have compulsions, but that's kind of besides the point. So I hope from this video what you understand is that the thought came in just by chance. You know, 50,000 thoughts a day, anybody could have gotten this thought. But when you got it, you reacted with a lot of fear. You know, and over, you know, I can tell you over the years, you know, because I talk to not just my clients, but other people in their lives as well, you know, and it's kind of interesting that the other people say that, yeah, I could have gotten this thought, but I would have never reacted like this, you know. And that's quite common as well. But the person with OCD thinks, no, I'm the only one who could possibly get this thought. And again, 50,000 thoughts a day, people can get some weird thoughts, you know? It doesn't mean anything about you. And you have to look at it as it's just a faulty signal. It could have been anything. But the problem is not the thought, but the problem is it got stuck. And now you need to unstick it. And the only way to do it is to refuse any reaction, you know? That part of the brain, it doesn't understand things. It's not cognitive. It can't give you any new information. Do you know what I mean? It can't prevent danger in the way of, you know, giving you new information. It can prevent danger by telling you what you told it. So you told it it's scary, so it kind of replays that. Oh, you remember? You didn't forget. It's still scary, you know, and just plays it over and over again for you, and you keep falling for it over and over and over again. So you have to choose to refuse. And at first, it will pummel you with all kinds of thoughts. It will really try to get you back in there, but you just have to hold on. Hold on and refuse. I promise you, if you do this, you know, it will get better. It will start to get easier. That pummeling stage, the very first stage, is when you're expected to be the strongest, when you're at your weakest and you're getting the most amount of thoughts. What you're going to see is the thoughts are switching a lot, but the actual anxiety to each individual thought, if you take it separately, it's not going to be as strong, and it's going to start to get weaker as the days go. As you are keeping strong, you will see that maybe at first it will be strong, but as it goes, it will start to get weaker, you know, because the thoughts are switching so fast that it's hard for the brain to get really emotionally attached to every single thought. Or maybe the thoughts are not switching in the way of a entirely new thought, but the details of the existing thoughts that you're focused on keep switching, you know, so that's also common as well. I hope you find this information helpful. If you would like to do the recovery program, all the information is on youhaveocd.com. You can sign up from there. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.